would you say that it's better if you donate money to a shul or yeshiva, enough money to build the place? Should you have your name up on the building or not? Is it a good thing to have in letters of Kiddush Levana, donated by Sammy and Betty Jacobowitz in loving memory of Uncle Jack, etc.? Or is it better to be pure and holy and altruistic and say, I don't need my name up there? So which one? It's a big debate, because the benefits of both ways are noticeable. On the one hand, if you don't put your name, it's more lishma, it's more authentic, it's more real. See, I'm not trying to get anything out of it, I'm just doing it legit. I'm not benefiting, my name is up there. If I put my name up there, it means it's all for self-aggrandizement. Hey, you want to give tzedakah, give it for the real reason. But there's a big benefit to actually having your name on. The benefit is very simple. You want to give matan b'seisa, you want to give discreetly, give discreetly. Put your name in the building, and then give a lot more than what anyone would have anticipated you gave for this building. That would be your discreet giving. Discreet giving would mean that you're giving more than is, as it looks like the name of the building is $1 million, you give $2 million. That's your matan b'seisa. That's a lot more than would be expected and anticipated of what you gave. Of course, there's a third side, which is when people start to notice that by putting your name in the building, a lot more people are going to invite you to ask you to put your name in their buildings. And that might be an outweighing factor also. So, yeah. What's the real question here? The question is, every one of us has a nefesh habahamis, an animal soul. Giving tzedakah is a godly experience. There's no reason to give tzedakah other than because Hashem said so. Charity is very powerful, it's divine. But charity has a lot of perks and benefits that, our little animal inside of us could actually enjoy. What are the perks? You get recognition, you get a good feeling. So much comes from tzedakah, from charity. So you might want to argue on the one side that if you're doing it, do it for the real reason. Give it without putting your name on. But on the flip side, there's a tremendous benefit when you do gain something from it and you're giving it in order to actually benefit yourself. It will prompt you to give more, for one. It'll also prompt others to want to give more. It will inspire them, and therefore the net result is giving more. This question is an age-old debate that took place between two sages of the Mishnah, two Tanaim, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua. In the background is as follows. On Yom Tov, which is coming up, every Yom Tov, you're supposed to rejoice. Simcha. Yom Tov is Simchas Yom Tov. So the question is, what's the approach to Simcha? How do you get to be happy on Yom Tov? Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua had a debate. Now, it's based on a pasuk, on a verse. One Yom Tov, which is the 7th day of Pesach, the Torah tells us, עצרת LaHashem Elokecha. It's a gathering to Hashem your God. Shmini Atzeret, which is the last day of Sukkot, the end of Sukkot, there it says, Atzeret Tiyeh Lachem. It's a gathering for you. So now, one place says the gathering is for God. The other one says you're gathering for you. Which one is it? So Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua have an argument. That's how we work in the Talmud. Rabbi Eliezer says, it means either or. You can either give it over totally to Hashem, to God, or you can enjoy it yourself. So when it says LaHashem Elokecha to God, it means for Hashem. When it says Lachem, it means for you. Therefore, says Rabbi Eliezer, if a person wants to not partake of any external manifestations of joy on Yom Tov, in other words, to not eat and drink and do physical festivities, it's his prerogative. He's permitted to do so. Are you allowed to fast on Yom Tov? Rabbi Eliezer says yes. Yes, if you want to not eat, you could. There's parameters halachically, but this is the basic idea. Rabbi Yehoshua argues. Rabbi Yehoshua says there's no such thing. It's chetzio Hashem vechetzio lachem. Half the Yom Tov is for God, half is for you. Which means, the way we generally keep Yom Tov is we go to shul, we daven, and we do a lot of, right? You know when you see it very much so in Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah, you're spending a long time in shul. And when you finish, what do? You go home and you rest and you eat. So the eating is no less important than the, right? But I mean, yeah, these guys came to my house once on the Seder night, and they promised they'd never come back again. They were non-from people, and they were like, they came for the, for the Seder. But Seder has different meanings to different people. And somewhere around 12:30 a.m., we now get into the meal. So you're like, okay, they go, we're not coming back on Pesach. Come back on a different holiday. But when you go to shul, you daven, you learn, you do all the holy stuff, the spiritual stuff that we do. So Rabbi Yehoshua says, you do half of this and half of that. Rabbi Eliezer says you have the right to choose all for God or all for you. Now, all for you doesn't mean that you're not going to go daven and learn. It just means the focus is on what you're gaining from it. So, according to Rabbi Eliezer, what's Rabbi Eliezer saying? Nope. You can give it over to Hashem totally. How does he learn that? Because the Pesach says, by Shvi Shel Pesach, it says, עצרת Hashem Elokecha, you can do it to God. From that, he extrapolates to any Yom Tov. If you ever want to do it all for God, you can go ahead, you can fast. But it also says, by Shmini עצeret, עצeret Tiyeh Lachem, for you. Therefore, it's either or. So Rabbi Eliezer is learning out of the same verse, either or. And Rabbi Yehoshua says, because it says it in both places, therefore I learn that you should do half for Hashem, half for you, every time. See the difference? Rabbi Yehoshua says, every holiday, half for you, half for Hashem. Rabbi Eliezer says, you choose in the holiday, do you want to do it for Hashem or do you want to do it for you? Now, what's the basis of the argument? On Yom Tov, in the Beis HaMikdash, they ate meat. But the meat wasn't regular meat. It was korban shlomim. It was a korban shlomim. So this korban shlomim was a sacrifice that they ate. And the benefit of the korban shlomim was that the owner got to partake of the korban. So when you bring, for example, on the other side of it, korban oila, korban olah, you give it to Hashem, and no one is allowed to have anything. There was nothing eaten by anyone. It was all consumed by the altar, the mizbeach. Korban shlamim, the owner gets to eat. So he's good. On Yom Tov, we eat shlamim. Now that we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, what do we do on Yom Tov? We make festivities. We set the table, and we have meat and wine and all sorts of goodies, and we make it a happy, joyous occasion. Now, why are we doing that? Very simple. Because you have to feed the animal, your animal, that is, like, doesn't just mean the animal in the field, it means the animal inside you. What happens when people sit around? Imagine on Yom Tov, you wouldn't be sitting around and you wouldn't be allowed to have meals. So the joy of Yom Tov wouldn't be able to take place. Simchas Yom Tov takes place because you catalyze it. You do something. And because you do it, that's why you're able to rejoice in Yom Tov. Rabbi Eliezer says it's possible to celebrate Yom Tov without the catalyst. You could fast on Yom Tov and not have any meat, and not have any shlamim, a korban, and not have any food at all, if you want. What's the argument between the two of them? The argument is, everybody agrees, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua, that Yom Tov is a holy time. It's a time when Hashem is felt. The question is, am I able to access that power of Hashem in my life or not? So when Yom Tov comes along, can I feel God in my life or not? Rabbi Yehoshua says it's not possible to feel Hashem. It's too abstract. Therefore, you need to eat meat, which you understand. Everybody gets what eating meat is. When you prepare a nice piece of roast on Yom Tov, on the day, of course, of Pesach, you may not eat roast, but you get a good geschmack of roasted that's beautiful. So you put it on the table. So now, we can get excited. There's food. Once you get excited about the food, you can eat. Once you eat, you can talk about getting happy and simcha. There's another thing you do. It says it's a halacha, right? Tell you're supposed to buy things. Like it says, a husband should buy his wife a gift for Yom Tov. Why? Because everybody needs something that they like. If a wife likes a gift, should you get a gift? Someone told me there's a wife who would put. She bought herself a jewelry because her husband didn't buy for her, and she put it under his under the challah, Shabbos and the challah over there on Yom Tov. And then when he was eating, she would say, he would look, she would see that, she'd say, "Oh my gosh, she bought me a gift." So nice, and the kids would see that there was a gift, so beautiful.
Nice idea.
But yeah, you're supposed to buy something, and for the children, you buy a new item of clothing. You buy things, you make it look good, you make it exciting. And what does a man need to do? Eat meat and drink wine, because that makes him happy. So you need the catalyst to make you happy. Rabbi Yehoshua. Rabbi Eliezer says, true, if you want, but I'll give you the option that you don't need any catalyst. What do you rejoice with? Hashem. Go daven and learn and be with Hashem, and you're good. That's what Rabbi Eliezer says. If you expand the conversation outside of food, I had an interesting discussion with one of our Rabbis, the teachers in the yeshiva that I opened. The conversation was, he said, chinuch, teaching is really, really hard. It's not easy. Like sometimes parents don't get how difficult it is, how challenging it could be. So he's telling me that a friend of his, he's a young guy, just started. Says a friend of his got, I think he was learning, this friend was learning became a bus driver. And, in yeshiva. And he got a letter and a gift from one of the parents. And he said he went into his room, he's a bacher, and he saw that the letter was hanging up in the room. He put up the letter that he got, thanking him and appreciating what he had done. And he says, I looked at the guy and I'm like, seriously? They said thank you to you and you put it up, you hang it up? Like, really? And the guy told me, yeah. And you should know that it's more meaningful to me to get the recognition than actually to get money. I like the recognition. He didn't understand. Didn't know what he was saying. Then, first year of teaching, came Purim time, now a few weeks ago. And he says, a couple parents gave him shalach manas. In the shalach manas, they put a little bit of cash and they put a letter. And there's one kid he's having a very difficult time with. And the parents wrote him a beautiful, stunning letter. Like really, really stunning. 7 lines. Just true, deep appreciation. He says, I got the letter and my heart just melted. I couldn't understand what's going on with me. Now I'm the same thing. I just absolutely felt the power of appreciation, of recognition. It felt so good. And I feel silly that it feels good, that this is what I need. Like, seriously? You need recognition? Really? You can't do it for the honest, genuine, authentic reason Like, what's with you? Seriously? You need to get appreciation in order to do it further? I was having a discussion. I said to him, but it felt good, right? I just want to know something. Did you thank the person who thanked you? Did you appreciate them? It's like, what should I do? Why don't you send back a text saying, he said, that's already been a couple of weeks. I said, yeah, write back. And you say, I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I want you to know that your letter that you sent me is so powerful that it's still on my mind. It still makes me feel good. And chinuch, being in education, is hard work. And to be appreciated like that makes it all worth it and makes me want to continue and spurs me on. And he wrote the text. And what do you think happened? He got a text back. And he told me, yeah. Now I'm in cloud 9. Now I feel really, 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 really good. And then we were discussing it. He's like, good or bad? He's like, can't be good. How can it be that you need, like, COVID? That's what it is. You need COVID. Like, you're supposed to run away from COVID. Recognition.
Acknowledgement. I don't know. It's
But even acknowledgement and appreciation, isn't it?
Because it makes exactly.
What? Validation, yes.
But you put in so much hard work.
Because lack of it makes you feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who do you think needs a validation? Your animal soul or your godly soul? Is it a divine thing that a person needs validation? Who's getting excited by it? Isn't it the same as eating food? When you eat food, who's eating the food? Your animal is eating the food. Your godly soul doesn't need food. Your animal needs the food. Why does the animal need the food? If you don't feed the animal, well then, what happens? Animal can't exist without food. So here's the problem. You want to think that you're going to be altruistic. I don't need appreciation, I don't need acknowledgement, I don't need validation. Right? And that. I think for like when a couple is dating, it's very important to truly like understand and appreciate and relate to what is it that I need, what makes me as a human being tick. Because all too often we walk into the marriage and what do you mean? I'm not selfish, I'm going to be selfless, I'm going to think about you. And I'm going to do it for you. At least one side is looking to do it for the other side. And if you don't know what you need and what makes you tick, there's going to be an issue there. Because there's a practical side to human existence. If you want to be married, it's like, okay, get in touch. It takes a while sometimes to get in touch with what do you need. Like the languages of love, the 5 languages of love, that idea. You like gifts? So say so. Because the other side maybe doesn't. Is it wrong to say so? Is it wrong to say, listen, I really, you like words of validation, I like gifts. When you give me a gift, I feel very special. And if you want me to get things going, I can, One lady told me she's second marriage, and her husband's child was going away on vacation, married, and they're going away on vacation. And they asked her to take care of their baby while they go for a few days. She says, they came in and they're asking me to do something that's hard for me. Like, they're gonna take care of their baby. It's not my grandchild. It's husband's grandchild. That's hard. He says, but the step child came in and made the request. And the way she said it was, she's like, I told her I'd take care of it, of the baby. So then she came in and she said, and she's thanking me for it. And she went and she said, it's so special that you're ready to do this. It's so unbelievable. Like, unfortunately, I'm not able to ask my own parent, and the fact that I have you over here makes me feel like $1,000,000. It makes me feel that I'm cared for. And she gave a whole lengthy explanation of why it's special. She says, at the end of it, I'm like, go for 2 weeks. Go for as long as you need, whatever you want, anything you want. And she's like, you know why? Because I got the validation. And I felt appreciated, and I don't need the money. It's okay, I'll do it for free. Just give me the validation. But it's a little bit challenging for people who want to be spiritual to accept that you have to need this, materialistic revelation, materialistic kind of need that you have. Hard to accept. I'm a holy. I'm going to do it for the real reason. Ahavas Yisrael. I love, a fellow Jew. I'm going to do it for that reason. It's almost like belittling that I need the covet. And enter the argument of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua. It's the same question as, do you need to feed your animal on Yom Tov in order to get the happiness? What should happiness on Yom Tov stem from? I don't get it. God took you out of Egypt. That's Pesach, right? And he takes you all the time out of your limitations. Isn't that exciting? Shouldn't that on its own make you happy? Shouldn't it be good enough to think of your relationship with the divine, with Hashem, and then you should just rejoice? You should be able to sit by the Agada and say over the Agada and get excited over Hashem. You really need the meat and the wine in order to get excited? I get it. It does a lot for you. But is it really necessary? Rabbi Eliezer says, stay away. Correct. Rabbi Eliezer says, the goal is to do the spiritual thing on its own. Rabbi Yehoshua says, humans need meat. Eat the meat. And that's why there's korban shlamim. Shlamim, you know what shlamim means? Shalom. Peace. Double peace. Shlamim. Plural. It makes peace between spiritual and the physical. When you eat, you feel good. When you feel good and taken care of, you can take care of others. So if you feed your animal, you feel good, you're able to produce. If you don't feed your animal, Rabbi Yehoshua says, there's nothing to give.
Hopefully you have to feed your animals first.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, you need the sense of, right, there's the animal, the feeding, the food to the animal, food to your own animal, and there's food to this physical food and spiritual food, meaning not spiritual, emotional food. You need to eat. And then where does God come in? Oh, you know where God comes in? It's very simple. According to Rabbi Yehoshua at least. If you eat the food, in this case the emotional food, meaning take care of your animal. What do I need? I need a sense of validation. So I'm asking for a sense of validation. Doesn't mean you walk over to someone and say, can you validate me? No, it means in a marriage, you're allowed to go to your spouse and say, my need is validation. And, when you give me validation, I'm ready to give you a lot more. And, and then there's something about writing notes and in order to get back a response. And you have to know how to do it, when to do it. Doesn't mean you sit there and say, if I don't get validated, I'm not doing it for you. But it means that you should maybe write down an account of all the times you felt validation. And if you feel that, feel good. And yeah, it's probably a good idea to not take your validation from external sources and to get your validation from inside. And you'll learn how to validate your own self. Because if you need someone else to validate you, then you're dependent always on someone else. Why do you need someone else? Why can't you validate yourself? Meaning self-appreciate. Give yourself some empathy. That was hard work. You did good. Good job. And when someone else does, okay, so now they recognize that's the outside recognizing what's on the inside already. I don't need the outside to validate me. I self-validate. That's probably very important. Yes. But it's me accepting that I need that and writing it down, make a diary of all the things that are going, you feel validated. And then when you don't feel validated, which will happen also, you'll look at the other one and say, look, but I did this, this, and this. Right? In other words, look at all the good things you do and how much you influence the world and how wonderful it is and how valid your existence is. Write it down and allow yourself to feel good from yourself. You get it not from external sources. And that's important and critical. Where does God come in? Simple. Once you feel the validation, like you wrote to this parent back a letter, a text, and they texted you back and they gave you the validation, what's going to happen next? What do you think this, thank Hashem, how do you think this teacher is going to now go back into the classroom? If you feel that your efforts are appreciated, you feel valid, right? So when you feel valid, what happens? You're going to teach better. You're more empowered, you're going to teach better. Do you see how the godly soul is gaining? It's the godly soul riding on the animal soul. It's great. And if you really get it, what you realize is when somebody sends you a beautiful thank you letter, you could, like in this case, right? Not in every case does it make sense, but you could actually thank them back. You just realized. It was really nice when I got a lot of letters on Purim from everyone. That felt good. Practice what you preach.
Like you're floating, smiling, and say you shouldn't. And you feel so good.
Exactly. Don't mention it. If you say don't mention it, then it won't be mentioned. No, it feels good to be validated. But it also feels almost like, I don't know what the word is, not humiliating, but like, doesn't feel manly.
Maybe men feel that way. I think women
To need,
I know, I think
men feel that way.
a little bit different.
You feel validation. I don't need your validation.
Because women
We have more issue with
It's a
that.
whole
Yeah.
different.
Okay, men definitely have that issue.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
It's a
it's
different,
like,
different vibe.
thank you.
But
They have a hard
You
time
make you
accepting
feel
that
that,
kind of.
or
Right.
I feel good.
when you take the validation, which is the animalistic part of you, and you ride the wave, which means you allow Hashem to benefit from that, that's the key. That's how Rabbi Yehoshua says celebrate Yom Tov. Eat the meat, get happy over Hashem. Really, you're right. You should get happy over Hashem directly. That's the problem. Hashem did good things for you. Love Hashem. No need for any things to get you close to Hashem. But the facts on the ground are that things help you. And so what you want to do is accept the validation and then use it for divine service. For example, Avas Yisrael, give it back. Give validation back. When you feel validated, you can validate back. You got a gift, it feels good. If that's what you like, how about this? Ask the other person what they want. Maybe they want a gift, maybe they want validation, maybe they want something else. Give them what they want. Get used to the idea, not that you, I was validated, I'm great. No, I was validated, now I feel satiated, now I have the power to go give over to you. And that's beautiful. It means that's empowering you to be able to produce. So that's riding it. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua are very different in their sense. I was just thinking about that. It's interesting that there's a debate that took place between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua, which is it's well known because it's a cool story. But the story was they were debating about Tanur Shel Achnai. There was an oven, and the question was whether it's Tomei or Torah, whether it's pure or not. And there was a big debate raging in the Beis Medrash. And Rabbi Eliezer said one way, and Rabbi Yehoshua said, and all the rest of the Beis Medrash said the other way. And he was outvoted totally. But he was greater than everybody else, and he knew that he was right and they were wrong. So the story is that he's in the Beis Medrash, and he says, and he was trying to get my way proven. So he's like, I'm going to show you some cool stuff. So he said, okay, if I'm right, I want the river outside the window, there was a river, to stop flowing downstream and start flowing upstream. And the water about face turned around went the other way. Trouble is, Rabbi Yehoshua got up and he said, rivers don't paskin halachas in the Beis Medrash. So who's going to paskin? Who's going to decide? The rabbis. And you go by a majority rule. So we're going to look what the majority says, and that's how we're going to rule. So Rabbi Eliezer says, okay. Beis Medrash started to cave in. The walls started to cave in. In other words, you're all dead if you don't agree with me. And Rabbi Yehoshua turned to the walls of the Beis Medrash and he says, walls, how dare you intervene in an argument that takes place between the rabbis in the Beis Medrash? So the walls didn't know what to do because they were going down. If we stop, if we go back, well then we're disobeying Rabbi Eliezer. If we keep going down, we're disobeying Rabbi Yehoshua. So the wall stayed slanted. That's what it says. So Rabbi Eliezer got really upset. And he said, let a heavenly voice come out and proclaim that I'm right. Let Hashem say that Rabbi Eliezer is right. And right away, everyone heard a voice came down from heaven and said, Rabbi Eliezer is right. And Rabbi Yehoshua took the initiative. And he says, we don't really care what Hashem says. What? Yeah. He says, Hashem said that it goes by what's ruled in this world. And so what Hashem says doesn't make a difference. We have to make a decision over here based on what our intellect understands. And our intellect over here rules by majority. And majority are against you, Rabbi Eliezer, therefore adjourned. Halacha follows the majority. And Rabbi Eliezer was excommunicated as a result for using all these heavenly powers to paskin halacha in the Beis Medrash. In other words, Rabbi Yehoshua is the more pragmatic, down to earth, so to speak. Rabbi Eliezer is living almost like messianic. Rabbi Yehoshua is saying, hey, don't tell me no heavenly voices proclaim. I don't go by heavenly voices. What's the bottom line? There's a majority over here against you. You might be smarter, true, but we follow the majority, not the smarter one. So if we don't agree with you, halacha follows all of us, even if a heavenly voice proclaims differently. But Rabbi Eliezer is into, let's use the heavenly voice. Now, one day, when Mashiach comes, the world will change. It will be a different world. And when the world changes, well, what's going to happen is, let's say, in future times, there won't be any eating and drinking. Olam haba ein bo lo achila velo shtiya. There's no eating or drinking. Ela tzadikim yoshvim v'ne'anim ve'atchotehem beroshehem. They're sitting down and enjoying themselves in Gan Eden, and their crowns are on their head. There is no sense of there's no food and drink. Now there's actually a debate of that between the Ramban Nachmanides and the Rambam Maimonides. The Ramban says that when Mashiach comes, the Rambam says that there's no eating and drinking because there's no body. Ultimate is a world without a body, a spiritual world. The Ramban says, I don't get it. If you won't have a body, why are you making a big deal out of it? They won't be eating and drinking. You don't have a body, who's eating and drinking? Must be there will be a body, but the body won't need to eat and drink. Right? What does it mean? Why do you need to eat and drink? Eating and drinking, you need to do, food gives you, it sustains the soul in the body. And water and drinks are a lubricant to allow the life to flow through your body. When Mashiach comes, we will be living directly off the energy of Hashem. We won't need the physical food and drink to sustain us. Right? That's what it means in Tehillim, Le'achayotam bara'av. You can live in famine. So it's almost like this. Rabbi Eliezer says, let's live that kind of lifestyle now. Stop telling me I need food, I need drink. Stop telling me I need to feed my animal soul. I need recognition, I need validation, I need gifts. None of the above. Rabbi Eliezer is messianic. He's like, it's okay. Don't worry about what humans are going through. Just go straight by what Hashem is. Rabbi Eliezer is almost like elevating human beings to a completely new level. Can you see that? Rabbi Eliezer is saying, it don't make a difference. It doesn't make any difference what your animal needs. Should you put your name up on the building? No. Just give the money. Give the tzedakah and do it. Should you ask for validation and appreciation? No. Because he's already ready to live Mashiach time. Because one day, when Mashiach comes, we won't need any of that. The attachment will be authentic, true, and it won't be locked in to any kind of something. You won't need the thing. Rabbi Yehoshua says, very nice, when Mashiach comes, that's great, then we will live from famine. But so long as we're still living in this planet Earth, we need validation. We need to be empowered by the animalistic being of who we are. And it's critical for us. So a human being needs to eat and drink. On Yom Tov, you need to have something in order to give you power. It needs energy. You gotta have meat and wine. Rabbi Yehoshua. Rabbi Yehoshua says, get real. There's a deeper reason for it also, right? It's not just because it's a problem. It's what we've discussed in the past, that food has divine energy in it. When you're eating a piece of meat, there's a divine spark in that food. And the divine spark wants to get close to Hashem, but it can't get close to Hashem because it's just an animal, it's just an ox. So what happens is Hashem makes it, you need that carbon. And Hashem says, you be b'simcha, but you can't be b'simcha unless you eat the food. So when you're being b'simcha, who's being b'simcha? The cow. The cow is rejoicing with Hashem. Because Rabbi Yehoshua says you got to take the spark in the cow, elevate him, and then pick him up to Hashem. When a person needs validation, feed your animal. Don't run away from feeding the animal. Why? A, because it's going to help you, and it's going to get you more. And B, because there's a divine spark inside that food. And when you elevate it, you connect it to God. And that's maybe why, after you elevate the divine spark, right? After when you have your name up over there, and you see the name, and it spurs, it feels good. And then it spurs you on to do more good, and it spurs other people on to do good. And when you get validated, either by having your name up there, or validated by people telling you and appreciating you, it gives you a sense of like energy and power. That's because there's a divine spark in that appreciation to raise you, to spur you on to greater heights than ever. That's the normal order of work. Where Rabbi Eliezer is using a heavenly voice. Rabbi Eliezer is saying, something that most of us can't reach, can't access. And Rabbi Yehoshua is a down-to-earth one. There's one day a year whereby all of us reach the status of Rabbi Eliezer. And that's when we don't need any type of external validation or anything. We get straight from Hashem. Nope. Because Yom Kippur is easy. Yom Kippur, there is no food or drink anyway, right? Pesach. Because remember, Rabbi Eliezer, where did he learn his whole approach from? He learned it because there's two verses we said at the beginning. One place it says, עצרת LaHashem Elokecha. One place it says, עצeret Lachem. Which means Yom Tov is, Shvi'i Pesach is called עצeret. The Torah says, עצeret LaHashem Elokecha. It's a gathering, a holiday for Hashem. Shmini Atzeres says עצeret Lachem. So he says, one place it says it's for you, one place it says it's for God. Which one is it? So Rabbi Yehoshua says half. Rabbi Eliezer says either or. When does it say it's all for God? Shvi'i Pesach. Shvi'i Pesach is at the one day a year, which is a Yom Tov, where it says it's all for God. And it's interesting also, on Yom Tov you're allowed to do meleches oichel nefesh. On Yom Tov you can't do any melacha, you can't do any work. But unlike Shabbos where it's 39 categories of work you cannot do, on Yom Tov, whatever's associated with food for Yom Tov you're allowed to do. You're allowed to cook. And you're allowed to light from one existing flame to another. So that's why on Yom Tov it says, Kol melechet avodah lo tasu. Shabbos it says, Lo taseh melacha. Yom Tov it says, Melechet avodah. Right? What's the difference between melechet avodah and melacha? Because some melacha you're actually allowed to do. That's the difference. Right? What does it say by Shvi Shel Pesach? It says the same as Shabbos. It says, Sheshet Yamim Tאכל מצות, 6 days eat matzah, וביום השביעי עצרת להשם אלוקיך, that's the one we're talking about. 7 days עצרת for Hashem, a gathering for Hashem. לא תעשה מלאכה, don't do any work. Which is strange, because you're allowed to do work. Not every work. But this Yom Tov, unlike the other ones, it says melechet avodah, here it says melacha. So Rabbi Eliezer learns from here that it's possible that on Yom Tov you wouldn't be allowed to do any work on Yom Tov. How? If you're fasting. And you're allowed to fast if you want. If you choose to give it over to Hashem totally, then you wouldn't be eating any food. Hence it says, lo taseh melacha. Makes sense? Now we look and we say, Rabbi Eliezer is saying about all Yom Tov, but which Yom Tov is the one where it says that it's all for God and you don't do any form of work? Shvi Shel Pesach. Something happened on Shvi Shel Pesach, and when we access that energy of Shvi Shel Pesach, that's the source which Rabbi Eliezer learns from, when he extrapolates to other holidays. There's such a thing as nothing for you. You don't need any food or drink. You don't need any emotional food or drink, validation of having your name up there or people validate you, nothing. You're just straight with the divine. If you look at what happened on Shvi Shel Pesach, that's the key. Shvi Shel Pesach is said to be the greatest revelation ever. Even though what happened on Shvi Shel Pesach, we crossed the Yom Tov, right? So revelation is Matan Torah. On Matan Torah, what does it say? Panim befanim diber Hashem imachem. Hashem spoke to you face to face. You saw God. But the Yom Tov, it doesn't say there was revelation. It just says we crossed the Red Sea. That's what happened. Where do you see the revelation? The answer is something happened. How do you think Hashem split the sea? Split the sea they wanted to cross? It's not what happened. It says, "Vayoylech Hashem es hayom beruach kadim azo kol halayla." Hashem took an easterly wind. But kadim, ruach kadim, also means kodim. Kadomono shel olam. Hashem appeared to them, the spirit of the primordial, the one who comes before everything. That's the ruach kadim that appeared to them. It was a divine energy that appeared, which means the ocean felt Hashem's presence so intensely that he wasn't able to feel his own self. Which means, what happens to a person when you have, when you're a mashpia, you're giving, you're teaching, you're doing, and then you meet someone who's just blows you away. You meet a real tzaddik and a real chacham, and he's so much more than what you are that you're humbled out of your existence. In halacha, it's called Aidi de Torig le Mivla Loipolit. When you're, it's like in the halachas of Hagalat Kelim, which we do, right? When you want to take hot water and you want to kasher your dishes, so you put the hot water inside, and then the walls, the walls excrete whatever's inside them. The chametz is inside them and goes into the water. But why you know that it goes back? If it's hot water and can take it out, it can also put it back in. That's how I got it in the first place. You'll never be able to kasher. You get what I'm saying? Because if you put hot water inside, and hot water is going to take the chametz out of the walls, but right away it'll put it back in. And the answer is no. Because the wall can't do two things in one go. It either swallows or excretes. Right? And since the water has nothing in it, so meaning it's just water, you put chametz inside, so the water's going to swallow the chametz, the walls. If you put water inside, it'll swallow the water and excrete its own self. It's going to come out. It won't go back in. Because when you're busy giving out, you don't take back in. So too with us. When a person's busy teaching, right? So you can't listen. And when you're listening, you can't teach. When someone greater, like I'm talking about, imagine you stand in front of, a tzaddik, a holy tzaddik. I don't think we have that nowadays, so we don't know what it means. But when you're standing in front of an awesome presence, you don't feel your own self. What happened to the waters in the Yom Tov was, water is a giver, and the water just receded, just like totally, completely lost its own self and own being. And that's why the waters froze in their place. Because there was a Ruach Kodim, a spirit of Hashem. Hashem appeared as is and revealed himself as is. This happens to us all in life. What happens is, yeah, you need validation, you need certain things to make you feel good. There are times in life when the going gets tough and you realize you're at a total loss. By Yom Tov, the Jews walked into the Yom Tov and they were standing, and there's that moment before. And it was an intense moment because in front of them is the ocean and behind them are the Mitzrayim, and there was no place to run. Have you ever been in that kind of position in life? Where you get to a point and you feel absolutely stuck. There's no place to go. You look back, I wish I could go back in time. Can't go back in time. I made a mistake. I regret it. I don't know how to get away from it. I look forward. The future looks impossible. Every one of us reaches those moments in life. And we learn from Yom Tov what to do. That's Shvi'i Pesach. So there were 4 groups what to do. One group said, let's go back and serve the Egyptians. Let's go be back to slavery. A second group says, let's kill them, let's fight them and die, even if we're to die. A third group says, let's jump into the ocean and commit suicide. A fourth group said, let's dive into Hashem. Every one of us gets those moments. And when you have those moments, one part of you says, forget it, I'm not going to do this, it's too hard. I'm just going to go under my bed covers, get depressed, commit suicide, chas v'shalom, or just lose myself totally in depression. Another part of me says, I'm going to keep on fighting, I'm going to keep on trying, I'm going to do it, fighting the Egyptians. Another one says, just resign and go back to whatever. It's fine, I'm fighting, but this is what it is, and live this way, and just whatever. Another part of us says, take you to Tehillim and go daven to Hashem. And that seems like a great one, right? Hashem says, none of the above. In fact, not even davening. Ve'atem tacharishun. You keep quiet. And what does it mean to keep quiet? What should you do? Daber el bnei Yisrael ve'yistaru. Go. March forward. It's a Jew who says, okay, I'm lost. I'm finished. I don't know what I can do here now. And Hashem says, I got you. I'm taking over. Don't even daven right now. Just walk in and go to the next step and watch how things are going to happen. In normal living, Rabbi Yehoshua is absolutely right. You've got to have validation. It's critical to have that sense of your own animal taken care of. But when you hit those moments where you feel zero, nothing, you just become numb. There's no validation, there's no sense of anything. It feels like you're totally lost. And you have those moments in life. Yes, what's really happening in those moments in life is Hashem said, hello, I'm here. I'm taking over right now. You have nothing but to feed your animal, because there is no animal. At that point, you're allowed to adopt a Rabbi Eliezer attitude, which is to say, okay, God, I'm like a little baby. I'm jumping into your arms. I'm feeling taken care of. How do you do that practically? To rejoice in Hashem is almost impossible, right? Remember that story I love so much, the Rabashkin story? That one day where he gets told the last day, there's no more hope. So he says, everyone thought I'd fall into an absolute melancholy. And I'm like, no more hope means that only Hashem is in my life. I have no animal, nothing I can do in myself. Nothing. There is no hishtadlus anymore. There's nothing I can do at all. So what do I do now? I let God take over. I'm like, Hashem, you're it. You take over. That's what it means. That's what happened by Shvi'i Pesach. They reach the Yom Tov. They get to this point, and there's no way to go. So Hashem says, stop it. Don't go get depressed. Don't get suicide. Don't get any of that. You rejoice. What am I rejoicing with? With me. Because you have Hashem in your life. You're like, what, who's going to take care of me? And how am I going to work? I have no way to explain and to rationalize what this is. No way to say anything. And Hashem says, you just be a little baby. Little babies get taken care of. And that's the moment of the ultimate birth of the people of Israel. I think that I gotta say that this week we experienced one of those moments. It really was. And it was like, it's a miracle of biblical proportions what we saw. And yeah, of course, we have a strong military. Yes. And it's critical to have a strong military. And of course, there's voices in the world, and they all say, it's a military. Let me tell you, there's no chance of a military being able to thwart 331 missiles. It's not possible. I heard a good word. Someone says, "Shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu l'chalotenu," and there were 331 missiles. Shmulik Greenwald in the dry clean store. This is what he does. This is what someone told me in his name. 331 missiles, he says, represents Shelo echad bilvad. Shelo is Gematria, is the American value 331. Shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu l'chalotenu. They try to send us that amount, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu matzleinu yodam, God saves us. The fact that all the Arabs are with us, and suddenly these nations, and just like, seriously, and then every one of those little missiles, huge, could have done a tremendous carnage, who knows? And Hashem just absolutely helped us, and it's not over. But one thing we know is, it's not over, but there's no place to go. No one likes us. We don't know where to go, nowhere forward. You know what the answer is? The answer is Hashem's like, okay, you have nothing to do, right? You notice that? So when you can do something and you feel like your animal needs to be taken care of, go take care of him. But sometimes you hit those moments. And you're like, Hashem, which Tehillim I'm going to say, Mizmor say. I'm going to just watch, because what does it say by Kriyas Yom Tov? Vayi anan ve'achoshech vaya'er et halayla. There was cloud and there was darkness, and it illuminated the night. Vaya'er et halayla. Who illuminated the night? It's a male, right? Not vata'er. The darkness started to shine. The darkness illuminated their lives. What happened by Kriyas Yom Tov was that the waters froze, because on top of us, Cheskel Hanavi said that there's a al dmut hachayot rakia ke'ein hakerach hanora. There's a ceiling, kerach, freezes into place. We are only capable of a certain amount. We don't know more. On a normal order of running things, we need to get close to Hashem, and you need the animal and the meat and the validation, all the good things to get close to Hashem. But sometimes Hashem says, just freeze into place. When those moments happen to you that seems like it's impossible, and it seems like you're overwhelmed, and it seems like you're lost, you're not. What it is in those moments is Hashem saying, right now I'm taking over. And at that moment, the sea just absolutely froze, and it became dry land. Suddenly they were able to walk through and to see Hashem in unprecedented ways that they never had access to before. So Shvi'is Pesach is the ultimate goal of Pesach, is to reach a point where we realize that Hashem takes care of us and you have nothing what to be afraid of, nothing what to be worried. Let God take care of. Very powerful for us today. What do? Sometimes you need things to make you happy, and sometimes just look at God and say, wow, 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 that I have this incredible Hashem in my life. That's the goal. So Hashem should help us all to experience a freedom, this Pesach, a freedom from anything that blocks us, and a freedom from all the wild animals in the world and wild animals inside of us to find our connection.
It's basically genius.